Hello everyone, my name's Hemingway Jones. Welcome to the channel. Today, I want to talk about what it's like to finally realize your dream, to finally be over the rainbow, to reach that green light at the end of Daisy's dock, and to get a Grail pen for yourself. What happens? The answer may surprise you. We all have our holy grails. Those special pens that we imagine hold every attribute we need to bring out our best writing, our best penmanship, and that exquisite writing experience we all dream of. Each of us thinks it's going to be the next pen, the newest thing, or the classic pen we have heard about from reviewers and from literature and from many sources for years and years. It's always that one thing just beyond our fingertips, just beyond the span of our grasp. But we strive ever forward, trying to satisfy that deep yearning within us to feel the most perfect writing experience. And so it was for me as I pursued the Montblanc 146 with a calligraphy nib. What did I dream of? I know Montblanc. I have a good selection of their vintage pens. I have a Montblanc 149 that's well worn, feels like an old friend, is one of my best writers, one of my best pens for when I want to compose some lyric poetry or some beautiful letter to my wife. I know what Montblanc is. I understand their value proposition. I know what cost is and what it represents to me in my life as treasure and time. I own the Montblanc Egyptomania, fastly becoming one of my favorite pens, and that nib is as soft as a vintage Waterman 52, though it lacks the line variation and the fat to thin effect of a Flex Nib. Nevertheless, the writing experience is soft, forgiving, yet exquisite. Certainly, Montblanc has the capability of making a Flex Nib as similar to those wet noodles of yore. After experiencing the incredible soft nib of the Egyptomania and the perfect flowy smooth nib of the medium, Montblanc 149. I suppose it was only too seductive to chase after the calligraphy Flex Nib on the Montblanc 146, knowing that all the pieces were there and they only needed to be assembled. So I suppose it was two competing streams, two quests I was on. The quest to get the perfect Flex Nib experience in a modern pen that feels like the vintage Waterman 52, but without the problems of a vintage pen. The maintenance, the internal components that are worn and faded. So you take that quest crossed with the quest to find an even more perfect Montblanc writing experience. And that, my friends, was my zeal for the Montblanc 146 calligraphy nib. Now I think when we do these commentaries on any pen, it's probably best to quantify all of our terms and to speak of things with a certain amount of precision, even as we use all of our poetic skills to express the experience of both yearning for a pen, achieving it, and then trying it, and the immediate after effects after. So if you are a fan of this channel and have ever seen me write, you know that I am not a calligrapher. I have nice handwriting, it's quite legible, it's even pretty at times, but it is not flowery or Spencerian or dramatic in any way. I am lacking those techniques that calligraphers have to make curlicues and embellishments look both like letters and something from a dream. Nevertheless, flex writing has been interesting to me because it imparts a certain amount of personality into your words, and you can show a certain emphasis as the lines go from thin to fat. I have been pursuing this search for the perfect flex writing experience for many years. I think it's probably also helpful to say that I really don't like fine or extra fine nibs. So if you're listening very carefully, you'll probably see that I've set myself up for disappointment when my pen arrived and I tried it. And my friends, disappointment is what I achieved. At the time of recording this, I have used the pen for about a week and a half, and I've written with it every day and on many different types of paper, from loose leaf to a ledger book to Rhodia, Clairefontaine, and even some Tomoe River. And oddly enough, it seems to write best on the cheapest of papers, at least in my hand. So I believe it would be pushing it to say that the nib is soft. To me, it feels like a firm, semi-flex nib that does have some give and is certainly capable of drastic line variation. So in a skilled hand, I think that this pen would perform excellently because it does some things incredibly well over any other flex nib that I have ever used. For instance, I have done curlicues and up and down wide to fat strokes across pages without the feed ever going dry, and the ink keeps up magnificently. Almost inconceivably, the writing experience is not particularly wet. How Montblanc achieves That particular type of alchemy, I do not know, but the experience of writing with it cannot be denied. It is incredible in how it goes from thin to fat without ever running dry. I will also let you know that it writes like many other extra fine pens do. In fact, for an extra fine, it is rather smooth once you find the right edge. The issue is that I don't enjoy writing with an extra fine nib, and the experience of flexing from thin to fat gets quickly exhausting in practice. So that is where my disappointment comes in. I had imagined a pen with the softness of the Egyptomania, but with an extra fine tip that would flex to a double broad. Maybe I was imagining too much, but it certainly seems like all of the pieces were there. They were so close, and I could have had that. Maybe what I'm asking for is wholly unrealistic. I have written with vintage pens that have this effect, but I must admit that they would run dry after maybe 4 or 5 flexes. This pen seems to balance all of the needed components for a skilled calligrapher to produce incredible results. So my dispersions cast at this pen are more a result of unrealistic expectations. Nevertheless, I would feel disingenuous if I didn't share them with you. I will even admit that through this process, I've considered doing the nib exchange and perhaps getting a medium nib or a broad. But ultimately, I've decided to keep it because it does do what it's supposed to do, and it does it rather well, even if the experience of doing so is not particularly enjoyable for me. I'm sure it would be for others, and I think it's valuable for me to hold on to this pen for various comparisons and in case I ever do pick up the skills of a calligrapher. It's certainly not that far out of the question. And so I hold my Grail pen in my hand. The gold is glistening, the body of the pen is glossy as a squid's ink. It is a beautiful, beguiling pen. It has an incredible nib that's capable of thin to fat lines and never seems to run dry. I don't have the expertise yet to really maximize that nib, but I will one day. So perhaps I have not achieved illumination by getting this pen, but I have acquired a certain insight. I now know that other aspects of writing with a fountain pen are more important to me. And so I embark on yet another quest. And this pen and I will share part of that journey. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch our arms farther, and one fine morning. So beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. So, what do you think of the Montblanc 146 with their calligraphy Flex Nib? Is it a pen that you'd like to try? Would you like to add it to your collection? Please let me know. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, let me know that too. I've certainly enjoyed making it. But on this terrible disappointment, it's time to end. So I will see you very soon, further up the road. And until then, take care of yourself, and may all your dreams come true.